and we're going to be talking about business innovation. All right, go ahead and like our page, ZBC SFM on Facebook as well. Joined by George Munengwa. And before we go into the in-depth issues of business innovation, we just want to a brief background about George. Very good morning, George, and thank you for joining us on Business 101.
Good morning, Zimbabwe. Good morning, McDonald. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. For the benefit of our listeners, so that they derive value from our discussion, maybe just a brief background about yourself and the business you're involved in.
Okay, my name is George Munengwa, and I'm the founder and managing director of a company called Pro Air Conditioning. Pro Air Conditioning has been in and around business for the past 4 years, and I'm an entrepreneur, and basically we offer heating and cooling solutions for domestic, commercial air conditioning from your car, your home, your office. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what we do.
All right, tell us more about how your journey started.
You know, my journey started, I used to work in different industries, and I finally found my love for air conditioning. Mm-hmm. I worked at a company before, and after 2 years of working there, I decided to start my own business. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, the journey has been bright, and I've had a good time understanding and finding myself, especially with the thing that I love to do, mm-hmm. which is air conditioning and making sure we bring cooling and heating solutions to people's homes.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's a very interesting area that you chose, and it's apt because of the discussion we're talking about today. It's in the area of business innovation. Simple concept, but not many people venture into that business. For you, what was the inspiration to get into that line of business?
For me, you'll find that now the climate change that's happening is that our temperatures are increasing by 2 to 3 degrees every year. Our winters are getting colder, our summers are getting hotter. And for me, I saw an opportunity to bring air conditioning into the country. You find that everywhere else in the world, air conditioning is a necessity, and people cannot live without it. So I found an opportunity where in Zimbabwe, we're still behind in actually getting to understand that air conditioning does both heating and cooling. People just think air conditioning is cooling. Mm-hmm. So I saw an opportunity there, and I decided to pounce on it, and so far the journey has been good. A lot of people are beginning to respond and to see the need of air conditioning.
Mm-hmm. And how long has been your journey thus far?
My journey in entrepreneurship is now 4 years. Mm-hmm. I'm a marketer by profession, but I've been in the air conditioning industry for 6 years now. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so today our focus on Business 101 is the issue of business innovation. Maybe just to understand the basic concept of what it means to innovate in business and why it becomes a cutting edge in this cutthroat business environment that we're living in.
Wow, okay. So for people who are listening out there who are wanting to start a business, you need to find a niche in whatever you want to do. And you'll find a lot of challenges that people have nowadays is that they don't believe in themselves. And there's so many opportunities that are out there. Mm-hmm. But in terms of innovation, you need to pursue something that you love to do. Once you pursue something you love to do, and you research on it, and you find better ways of offering that service, you'll begin to find that your business can become successful. Mm-hmm. A lot of people nowadays are doing business traditionally. They're not bringing in new things, new concepts, which is the reason why a lot of businesses are dying, because they're doing things that used to be done in the 90s in this era and age, where you see social media is the hype. People want more and more demand from just the basic things that people need. Mm-hmm. So it's important that with whatever business you want to do, continue to be ahead of time, trying to offer the better solutions to the end users, which are the people that give you what you need.
There is, George, a general resistance. I'm going to just take a rabbit trail from what you mentioned earlier on. There is generally, maybe it's beginning to ease a bit right now, but the prevalence in the use of social media, traditionally it hasn't been as much. Why is there that kind of resistance to innovate business along those lines?
Along social media?
Yeah.
You know, with social media, people don't understand the power of social media, especially when it comes to marketing your business or getting a message across. A lot of people nowadays are very, for our business, for instance, people go and search air conditioning in Zimbabwe, and you get to get the list of all the air conditioning users in the country. Mm-hmm. And the more you use that to your benefit, you'll begin to see a lot of doors open for you. Gone are the days where we open the directories and the yellow pages. Even our traditional newspapers, people are now modern. They go on Google, they type, and they search for what they want. Mm-hmm. So it's important for people to begin to implement social media and getting search engine optimization to get first preference on the social media. Yeah.
I do ask that intentionally because I see your activity on social media is very high, probably 10, if not more than times a day, you're posting up your services and what you do. How has been the response from the market with regards to that visibility on social media?
For us, social media is one of our strongest points. Like I said, I'm a marketer by profession. So a lot of people always say you post a lot. And you know what? I believe that somebody is seeing your brand for the very first time every single day. Whether it's our cars branded, whether it's social media. So it's important to use it to your advantage so that people get to know exactly what you do. You're posting about the different services you offer. You're telling people we make the weather behave. You're telling people each and everything that you do so that people get to know more about you. And people are more visual than ever before. You'll find with a lot of things that I post, there are a lot of pictures. People want to be, people believe when they see it. They're like the Thomas. They see, oh, okay, Pro Air does this. They've done work for this, that, and the other. So they gain confidence in you. And from that will bring a lot of added advantage to you.
All right, now going back to the issue we're rightly discussing, I know innovation has also to do with social media, but in terms of making your business unique, because, for instance, right now, I'll give you an example that many people, the tendency generally is when one person starts that kind of business, there are 20, 29 people that flock into that kind of business. What are some of the keys to make somebody's business cutting edge with regards to innovation?
I believe you first need to be in love with what you do. I have a lot of friends all the time who ask me, George, why are you always branded in Pro Air clothing? You're always driving a branded car. And I say it's because I love what I do. When you love what you do, you're not copying or imitating somebody. You really have a love for that thing. And you'll find when you love something, you get to find out more about it. Thank God for the internet now, that you can go on the internet and research on air conditioning in Australia, and you see exactly what they're doing there. And what we're talking about today, business innovation, there's no way you can rediscover certain things. All it is taking an idea from a foreign land and implementing it where you are today. Because people, Zimbabwe is a third world country. If you take first world ideas and implement them in Zimbabwe, it looks new and you'll get a good response. So the most important thing, love what you do, research on it, get the most latest technological advancements in whatever you're doing, whether it be fashion, whatever it is that you're doing, and begin to implement that. And that's what will make you stand out from your competitors.
All right, now just taking it, when looking at the textbook definition of innovation, it says it's a new method, it's an idea, it's a product, it's a technological innovations are designed to save energy. That's an example there. Then, of course, according to Wikipedia goes on to say that innovation is defined simply as a new idea, device, or method. However, innovation is also viewed as the application of better solutions that meet new requirements, unarticulated needs, or existing market needs. This is accomplished through more effective products, effective processes, effective services, effective technologies, or business models that are readily available to markets, governments, and society. What's your take to that particular definition of innovation from Wikipedia?
Well, I think it basically says it all. And I think the most important thing that people need to get, innovation is something that comes from inside. And that's a very brilliant definition. But innovation is applying it. It's one thing to define it, but it's applying it into your business. Because bringing in different concepts, if we look at some of our local players and local businesses that are doing better than others, they're always a step ahead. So innovation works when you implement it. The definition is one thing, but when you apply it to your business and you begin to bring different things, consumers are more demanding than ever before. They want more value for their money, and they want that extra mile that as companies offer them. So it's important to apply innovation and begin to give the end users exactly what they need.
Definitely, you say that, and it's a very important point, like with the issue of us as broadcasters here, we are obviously always talking to the masses, but if we don't innovate and adapt to the new systems of communication that are there, there is a thin danger of becoming irrelevant, because you find that the visibility in terms of social media has to be relatively there. It's something that wasn't there 10 years ago, 5 years ago.
That's right.
But because there is that gap and there is that opportunity, as it were, we have to jump on, we have to take on to social media.
That's very true. That's very true.
All right, now just taking a quick look at some of the most innovative companies for 2015, according to Forbes. This is, of course, a list that's compiled every year. The list has number 1, Tesla Motors, of course, in the Salesforce.com, Alexion Pharmaceuticals, Regeneron Pharmaceuticals, ARM Holdings, Unilever Indonesia, Insight, Amazon.com, Under Armour, Biomartin. We've managed to see how people are now connecting via social media. I mean, you've got companies like eBay, where people can virtually do business all over the world with just a click. You did mention the fact that we are a developing nation. How do you see us tagging on to that wave of progress?
I think right now, as you can tell, like currently with our banking sector and even some of our purchases, we're now beginning to get into a cashless society, where we're beginning to buy things online. And like I said, nowadays, gone are the days where you go window shopping in town. You now search for something, and where you find it, either you get the person who's selling it can either offer to deliver it. So as a third world country, we are getting there. And very soon, you actually not even need to go and drive to a supermarket and get what you need, because things are going to be delivered, because already that's actually happening. That's bringing convenience. So, I mean, we're catching up a lot, and there's a lot that the internet and social media is doing, not only to this country, but to the world, and it's definitely going to change a lot.
It's interesting that you mentioned that point, because sometimes it's maybe not clarifying or really breaking down the information that makes us not realize that we're part of something that's moving. Like the cashless society where we're going in, there was an increase in terms of usage of plastic money that was recorded coming through from the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe since the inception of, people starting to use cards, ATM cards, more than they're using cash.
That's true. I mean, if you look at other countries, very rarely do you actually move around with money. So for us, it's something that was long overdue, but it's something that we're now getting used to, and especially going to banks. Now you can operate it from your phone. I think that's such a convenience to every single person. You don't need to rush to cut off time and etc. to transfer money to do any transaction. So that's exactly where the world is going.
All right. Now, of course, we've been talking about the pros of innovation. Maybe are there any cons at all in terms of innovation where there comes a resistance from the market to the change that a product is done? I'll tell you, for example, there's one social media site, Instagram, when they rebranded, and it's actually been listed as one of the most innovative for 2015 as well. But when they rebranded and they had a new look, there was a bit of resistance from the market saying that's not the Instagram that we used to. We used to Instagram, being in a certain way. So innovation can, in a way, also be, not received quite well.
True, but one thing that you need to understand is that if you're not applying innovation, you're going to remain the same and dormant, and your competitors are going to fly above you, and you're going to remain where you are. The Instagram story you're talking about, the first week, even if a company rebrands their logo, there's going to be a bit of resistance, but with time, it will sink into people. So it's important that no company, if you look at big brands like Coca-Cola, they've transformed over the years. And whether you like it or not, you've gotten used to their new logos, their new taglines. They change them every now and then, but that doesn't change the love of the product that you have for them. So it's important to continually be on a roll and adapt to that change.
So key, it's a question from what you're saying, key to the success of the innovation or rebranding, maybe in an example, is obviously the authenticity and reliability of the product itself.
That's right. That's right, yeah.
All right. If you're just joining us, this is the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation's SFM Radio, and the program that we have today is Business 101, your ultimate guide to accelerating your business to come from dream to done, coming through every single Tuesday of the week from 9:30 all the way up until 10 o'clock. The time right now is 12 minutes before the hour of 10, and in the studio we're joined by George Munengwa, and he's just telling us a bit about his life, his background, his business, and some of the keys to help us innovate, to help you innovate, to help you see things differently, to have a paradigm shift, as it were. And what are some of the keys that have helped you as a business person? Okay, we've got a caller on the line. Probably they want to contribute. Let's just go ahead and receive that particular caller. Hello, you're live on radio? All right, we've lost that call. That's the number that you can use to contribute on the program Business 101. Any questions that you have, any comments, any queries, as well as maybe contributions that you might have, go ahead and call us on that number 498651. George, I was just getting back to you to just find out that you said your business is 4 years old, and there's been a lot of going off the beaten track in terms of innovation with what you've done in the past. What has been your inspiration as an individual to help you spur from ordinary to extraordinary?
Okay, from me, I grew up in a high-density suburb called Glenora, and I used to go to a school called St. Michael's, Hartman House, and St. George's. So that was my upbringing. So when I grew up, I didn't have a bright and rosy life. So I've always wanted the other side of life. So for me, I've always been inspired to see the other side and the good side of life. Mm-hmm. So one thing for me, especially with my business that that has drove me to become who I am, I came from where I didn't have. So my drive and my push is to be the best person I can be. Mm-hmm. I've got a family, I've got 3 kids, and I want the best for my kids. So for me, that's something that pushes me to provide for my kids more than what I got. And with that, that's why you find I speak pro-air, I dress pro-air, I move around in pro-air because I love what I do, because I want it to become a generational business which is passed on not only from me, but to my kids and to my kids' kids. So I want them not to have any lack, which I grew up with, and I want them to understand that, okay, this is what our father started, and we need to push this to the next generation.
And so for you, what was the tipping point? Somebody's listening to you right now and they're saying, maybe I'm in the quandary of a situation where I don't have as much, but I desire to pursue business, I desire to be successful, and I can do and want to do everything that I can. For you, what was the tipping point, as it were, that made you move from that place of saying, okay, I've drawn the line, this is it?
You know, radio interviews like this, where somebody begins to listen and understand how somebody started. For me, that was very inspiring, because I listened to a lot of messages, I heard a lot of interviews, I listened to all these successful people in the country who made it. Mm-hmm. And I used to ask myself, how can they make it? What's wrong with me? And I just started believing in myself. Until a pastor came to me, Pastor PVK, and he spoke to me and he told me, George, why don't you resign and start your own business? And somehow, because I've always wanted the other side of life, I decided and I started. There are people who are listening who don't believe in themselves, who are full of excuses, who are full of the economy is not working, who are full of, I don't think it will work, who are surrounded by friends who tell them, you know what, why are you starting this business? So many people have it. It's important to believe in yourself. I believe a lot of people who are out there are full of excuses, and they listen a lot to their surroundings, but they don't listen to their inner man. Mm-hmm. So it's important to believe in yourself. I always believe the worst thing you can ever do in life is not to try. It's better you try, either you win or you don't. When you don't, you've gained an experience which nobody else has experienced. But that thing will build you to be stronger than you were before you try that. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people have excuses, but the best thing you can ever do to experience the other side of life is to try. Jump off the aeroplane without a parachute. When you do that, you know, you can get both sides of things. So it's important to just be extraordinary, believe in yourself, do something different, believe in yourself, and begin to fill yourself with positive messages and stuff.
George, I must ask this though, is everyone cut out to be that way? Is everyone cut out to be the person who jumps out of the plane and, you know, creates a parachute going down? Or is a certain preserve for a certain group or a certain niche of people? I
believe, remember, I started off, I worked in different sectors of the economy before. I worked like 5-6 jobs before I started Pro-Air. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of people out there who are listening and who are thinking, George, are you telling us to become entrepreneurs? I learned the lessons that I apply in business today, I learned from where I used to work. Mm-hmm. So it's important that people, wherever you are, be the best you can be the best sweeper, be the best sales rep, be the best accountant. Mm-hmm. Because you know what, you never know where life is going to take you. And that time will come. Mm-hmm. And it's not that entrepreneurship is for everybody. Mm-hmm. But it's just be the best person you can be. Mm-hmm. That's what I believe, yeah.
All right, fantastic. Now, of course, one of the things that we love to do on this show is to give you certain guides and certain areas where you can obviously self-develop. And just now, we'll hear from George some of the reading material that has helped him along the course of his entrepreneurship journey on his path of innovation. And of course, as Business 101 today, the book that we're talking about, that we recommend you to be able to get you from a certain level of where you are to a different paradigm, is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. Now, this book has been a top bestseller for the simple reason that it ignores trends and pop psychology for proven principles of fairness, integrity, honesty as well as human dignity, celebrating its 15th year of helping people solve personal and professional problems. This special book includes a foreword and afterwards written by the late Stephen R. Covey, exploring the question of whether the 7 habits are still relevant and answering some of the most common questions that he has received over the past few years. Now, before we get more into the 7 habits of highly effective people, George, I'd like to find out from you some of the books or maybe a book that has helped you on this path, because we understand that books help mentor you. They take you to a certain place where you've never been.
Right. For me, my most favorite books, The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason and Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Mm-hmm. These 2 books have transformed my way of thinking, and I highly encourage those to people. Not only that, I listen to a lot of motivational audios from Les Brown, John Ron, there's so many people I listen to, and it's in Tony Robbins. Not only that, but I also surround myself with mentors, the likes of Dr. Chandiwana, Mark Kamanya, Dr. Philip Chiangwa, Chamu Chiwanza. There's so many people that I surround myself in that I feed from. And a lot of people ask me, George, how are you friends with these people? What do you benefit? But you know what? A lot of people are judgmental of people's characters, but they like to actually get that these people have very hard work ethics that I begin to leverage and brush on the more time I spend with them. So it's important to somebody who's listening out there. If you want to be different, begin to hang around with different people. People who will inspire you, people who will advise you, listen, I read this book, it's going to change your life. Especially with where you are in life, I recommend to read this. And that's how I began to read these books. Because people who mentored me would say, George, read this book. After you read this book, let's have a discussion. And from that has helped me become the leader I am today.
Fantastic. Well, we'll just go through the 7 habits quickly, and then I'll just have your opinion before we close off. The 7 habits go on to say, number 1, be proactive. Number 2, begin with the end in mind. Number 3, put first things first. 4, think win-win. 5, seek first to understand, then be understood. 6, synergize, then 7, sharpen the saw. Now, just getting to just really describe it. Being proactive, which is habit, which means you are taking charge of life. We choose the script by which we live our lives. Use this self-awareness to be proactive and take responsibility for your choices. It is our willingness, it's our willing permission, our consent to what happens to us that hurts us far more than what happened to us in the first place. That's, of course, be proactive. Number 2, begin with the end in mind. Start with a clear destination in mind. Covey says we can use our imagination to develop a vision of what we want to become and use our conscience to decide what value will guide us. Then, of course, habit 3 goes on to talk about how we need to put first things first. In order to manage ourselves effectively, we must always put first things first. We must have the discipline to prioritize our day-to-day actions based on what is most important, not really what is most urgent. Then, of course, habit number 4 goes on to talk about how we need to think win-win. In order to establish effective interdependent relationships, we must commit to creating win-win situations that are mutually beneficial and satisfying to each party. Then, of course, we go on to habit number 5, which is seek first to understand, then be understood. Before we can offer advice, suggest solutions, or effectively interact with another person in any way, we must seek to deeply understand their perspective through empathetic listening. Of course, now there are more. I advise you to go and like our page, Business 101 on Facebook, where we'll be sharing this and more. I'm going to ask George to write a bit of a blog concerning this particular discussion. Then we'll also post it up there. But of those that we've discussed so far, in 30 seconds, because our time is fast run out on us, George.
Okay, I think it's important, just to wrap up, it's important for people, I believe, to believe in yourself. There are a lot of people who are listening there, and I want you to understand this. With whatever business you're doing, with wherever you are, be different, be unique, be extraordinary. Be more than what your boss expects from you. Be more than what your clients want from you. Deliver more, become more, and I just encourage everybody who's out there, be the best that you can be. I always say I've got a Facebook page written George Billionaire, which basically talks to people to inspire. It's important that you must get up, show up, and never give up.
That's it. Well, thank you so much, George, for joining us on Business 101. That was George Munengwa just coming through to just
Make the weather behave with Pro Air for all your heating and cooling. Portable air conditioning units for hire. Think Pro Air.